Once again, the stunning architecture of Singapore provides the backdrop to a round of the TCR International Series. Round 18 looks very different to that of, 18 hours or so ago. Round 17, the first night race of the series. We've swapped the nights and the floodlights for a very warm, very humid, very sticky Sunday afternoon in September here in Singapore. Hello everyone, this is Mark James once again in the commentary box, guiding you through the 10-lap race around this street circuit at Marina Bay in Singapore that makes up round 18 of the 2015 TCR International Series. That's the grid. Top 10 positions reversed, remember, from qualifying. 21 cars will make up the grid for this 18th round of the TCR International Series. One non-starter. And Thomas Engström in the Liqui-Moly Engstler Volkswagen Golf, the Swede, on pole position with Jordi Genet alongside him. Lorenzo Vailia and Mikhail Grachov make up the second row. Young Dutchman Loris Hezemans making his debut in the TCR International Series. Fifth. Sixth is Pepe Oriola with Avanasiev, yesterday's winner of round 17, Kevin Gleeson alongside him. And then rounding off the top 10, Gianni Morbidelli and Stefano Camini, our series leader. It's worth pointing out, by the way, that something like 95 years of age, something like our front row of the grid with Thomas Engström alongside Jordi Genet, 95 years, the combined total of their ages, and the third row of the grid with Hezemans and Oriola, something like 38, 39. So one non-starter you see there on your screen, Mac from Hong Kong, which is Mac Hing Tak in the Campos Racing Astra. He crunched the car during the warm-up lap yesterday, and the car too badly damaged to take the start in race 2. But we will have, I'm told, the Subaru right at the back of the grid, made the start of race 1, effectively treated that race as a shakedown, test, qualifying all rolled into one. An awful lot of positive comments on social media after the race, how good the car looks. I'm sure we'll see it at some point. But that in the hands of Luca Rangoni, the top-run Subaru Impreza, starting from the back of the grid. And I'm pleased to say alongside, or rather in front of the Subaru, will be the sole Ford Focus. Failed to make the start of race 1 because of drive shaft issues, but the Ford Focus of the FRD team from Hong Kong in the hands of Kenneth Ma, team boss. There it is indeed. There's the Subaru on the left of your screen, the Ford Focus just in front of it. So 6 brands represented here on the grid with 21 cars taking the start. Lorenzo Vailia involved in a little tap at the back of Mikhail Grachov's Golf, his teammate. They seemed to be best of friends again last night after the race. Vailia possibly just not expecting Grachov to break quite where he did. Vailia starts from 3rd on the grid. And it's actually Grachov alongside him. So the 2 Liqui-Moly Team Engstler cars. There you see the red, white and blue stripe up the nose and roof of Loris Hezemans. Starts from 5th on the grid, but there is Grachov. Liqui-Moly running the now familiar lineup of 2 Volkswagen Golfs and the solitary Seat Leon for Vailia. Grachov, one of 2 Russian drivers on the grid. And the second Russian, Sergei Avanasiev, 7th on the grid. And indeed, you did see him very briefly. In fact, there he is, 77. Once again, the TCR International Series running as a support race to Formula One. They will be racing here in Marina Bay tonight. Their street race promises all sorts of thrills and spills. TCR International acting as the curtain raiser last night, but worth giving our thanks to the guys who've looked after us so well from Formula One, particularly the TV guys who've been extremely accommodating. Thank you, guys. Fingers crossed we'll see you again next year. So we wait for the green flag lap then, the formation lap. The cars set off. Engstrom a little slow to get off the line. So one last slow time lap of this 5-kilometer circuit, the 23 corners that make up the Marina Bay circuit in Singapore. The car's weaving to get some heat into the tyres. The heat in the car is a very different story. Air temperature currently 33 degrees, track temperature of 45, and humidity is a little lower than it was last night at around 57%. So it doesn't feel quite as muggy, but it is very, very warm, trust me. That's the position then after round 17 in the Drivers' Series. Stefano Camini, an 8-point lead over Pepe Oriola, and the battle effectively still a 5-way affair. Jordi Janay third, Gianni Morbidelli fourth, and Kevin Gleeson fifth. Gleeson's win last night keeps him in contention because with 5 rounds still to go, this one, 2 in Buriram in Thailand, 2 in Macau, 135 points still on offer, still up for grabs. If anyone can emulate Gianni Morbidelli's feat in Monza back in May, where he took the perfect 55 points. In the teams series, that's really now a 3-way scrap. Target competition lead with 511 points, 16 points behind a Craft Bamboo Lukoil, and then West Coast Racing, who run the 3 Hondas, third, 69 points adrift of target competition. And then Liquid Moly Engstler now 263 points adrift. So it's Target versus Craft Bamboo Lukoil versus West Coast for the team's trophy. That, just as with the Drivers' Series, I suspect will go down to the wire and will be decided on the tight, twisty streets of Macau in November. Great shot there showing the mix of architecture, the very new and the very old here in Singapore. That's turn 13, the left-hand hairpin that gets the cars onto the relatively long back straight. Just 3 corners here at Singapore have names. Turn 1 is known as Shears, after the second president of Singapore. Turn 7 is called Memorial because that's very close to the Second World War Memorial at Memorial Park just across the way. And then turn 10, which has changed a bit over the years, used to be a chicane. That's called Singapore Sling, and it's now a single apex left-hand bend. And new for this year from the comments that we're hearing from F1, the section between turns 10 and 12 has changed slightly. And the circuit, since it first appeared on the F1 calendar back in 2008, has changed pretty much every year with curbs being dropped. That is one of the unique features of Singapore, the tunnel under the grandstand at turns 18 and 19. It's also one of the areas that has caught out drivers over the last few days with the braking point for the left-hander into the tunnel, catching out particularly some of the TCR Asia competitors. TCR Asia joining TCR International for the final 3 race meetings of the year. So the competitors in TCR Asia will be with us again in Buriram at the end of October and with us again in late November for the 2 races at Macau. Fantastic weekend of entertainment, not just on track, but concerts and all sorts of things going on here in Singapore, and an amazing background, an amazing atmosphere. Ever since we arrived in midweek, the whole city, the whole area has embraced the racing, not just Formula One, but there's been an awful lot of excitement about TCR as well. And for those commenting on social media, we're glad you enjoyed the spectacle last night. Remember, they had quite a limited repair time between race 1 and race 2, and so race 1, as usual, very clean, very gentlemanly. No real damage, as I say, just the one non-starter for race 2. But what will happen on this tight street circuit with those high walls for race 2? There is the Focus, there is the Subaru, lining up on the grid. The marshal on the right-hand side there, watching for everybody to be in place. He will wave his green flag The lights will go on, will go off, and then we have 10 laps of round 18 of the TCR International Series ahead of us. The lights go on in sequence, all 5 on, all 5 off, and Thomas Engström was telling me earlier that he had to make a good start. He moves across to cut off Jordi Janné, and it would appear that Engström has got that good start he was after. Janné is on the upside, the inside though for the turn 1, the left-hander, and it would be Hezemans that's forced to run wide. Little bumping and banging between the pair as they run through that corner. Once again, Engström just muscles his way past Janné, the two running side by side down to the right-hander. So it's Janné from Engström who'll be disappointed with that. The second Liqui Moly Engstler Golf, that of Mikhail Grachov, has tucked into 3rd place. Then Valia in the Seat, then Hezemans, then Oriola, then it's the Opel Astra. Fernando Monge will be determined for yet more points from this race. He finished 10th last night and so scored a single point. He's safely through. Let's just take a look at the order then. Janné from Engström, from Grachov, from Valia, Hezemans, Oriola, Monge, Camini, championship leader, Afanasiev and Morbidelli. Gianni Morbidelli missing the press conference last night because he was unwell, and really did not look at all happy when he got out of the car as it's Pepe Oriola just taking a look around Hezemans. There is Morbidelli. A very subdued Gianni Morbidelli this weekend, suffering from a combination of jet lag, means he can't sleep, and also a heavy cold, and up goes the inside. Up the inside goes Oriola, just muscling and bumping and banging his way past Loris Hezemans, who has to give way to the man who was leading the series heading here to Singapore. Also getting past is Camini, who will be trying to stick with Oriola. Grachov goes past Engström, so still Volkswagen 2nd and 3rd, but the order has switched. Grachov now ahead of Engström. Janné still leads. Monge now muscling all over the back of Hezemans' car. Hezemans, as I was saying last night, a famous name from touring car racing. His dad, a former European touring car champion, and at just 18 years of age, Loris Hezemans, an extremely promising prospect for the future. Through they go, coming up to complete the end of this first 5-kilometer lap. Jordi Janné leads from Grachov, from Engström, Valia still 4th, Oriola 5th, Camini 6th, Hezemans has dropped to 7th, Morbidelli has made it up to 8th, ahead of Afanasiev. Kevin Gleeson, who won round 17 here last night, is now up to 10th place. Monge has dropped out of the points to 11th. René Munich in the 3rd of the West Coast Racing Honda Civics is 12th. Luca Rangoni in the Subaru, who finished 14th last night, is already 13th, having started from way at the back of the grid. Oriola now muscling his way past Valia. And also around the outside goes Camini. Two of the men scrapping for the driver's title. Camini runs wide, as does Hezemans. Oriola, Camini, Valia, Hezemans running together. Ahead you see the two Golfs, but Janné already off into the distance. There was Janné, you saw a brief glimpse of him, then Grachov, then Engström. There is Oriola, Camini, Valia, Hezemans, then Morbidelli, then Afanasiev, then Gleeson. That's our top 10. Just over a second separates the two Golfs. Let's take a look back at the start from this angle. There at the back of the grid is the Subaru, and that's one of the Hondas. I would have said that's not one of the international cars. I think that's one of the TCR Asia cars that started moving. Yes, that would be a little suspect, I would have said. One of the Prince Racing cars moving, it would appear, before everybody else. But already you see, even up the drag up to the first corner, that gorgeous blue and gold Impreza, the Subaru TCR car, having made up several places just off the start line. And that was the melee at turns 1 and 2. And we look at Genet and Engström. Collision between the pair, Genet hanging on. There in the background is Oriola, and you briefly saw, I think it was Hesemans coming in from the left. We join the action though on lap 3. Genet still leads. The gap now already 2 seconds to Grachov, to Engström. There he is, then Oriola. Camini though, breathing down Oriola's neck. Oh, was there collision there? Yes, there was. Engström just being tapped out of the way, and also collision between Camini and Oriola. Two of our championship rivals, Oriola not giving that position up. And Camini has to yield. We're looking head on now. Oriola in the red Seat, Camini in the predominantly green target competition car, weaves out, takes a look. Oriola though defends. Behind the pair, the Seat of Valia. And behind Valia, it's Morbidelli. Morbidelli up to 7th, Hesemans now 8th. Gleeson having made it up to 9th, Avanasiev has dropped to 10th. Then it's René Munich. Valia's alongside Camini. But no, indeed, not quite enough. Can Valia get up the inside? He takes a look, he goes across the curve, but no, indeed, it's Camini who hangs on. Oriola, Camini, Valia, Morbidelli. Around the hairpin at turn 13. And we're seeing this battle now for 4th place, 4th, 5th and 6th, between Oriola, Camini and Valia, as Gleeson, that is, who goes past Engström. And that's Morbidelli, team leader from the West Coast Racing team now, having got Gleeson up behind him. And that's Valia just ahead of Morbidelli. So next in the Italian drivers' sights. And despite the fact that Morbidelli is far from his usual self, you have to say this has been a pretty good performance for him. 3rd yesterday, already now as Valia runs wide, or indeed cutting the corner. There is Morbidelli, there is Gleeson. A slightly surprised Gleeson took the win here last night. Camini stretching his lead to about 2.5 seconds, and then suddenly we were watching the scrap for, I think, 6th place, and we cut to the battle for the lead, and the two were side by side, and it turned out that Camini's card had some kind of electrical glitch, and while he reset it, that was all that Gleeson needed to get up alongside, to go down the start-finish straight side by side, held the line for the left-hander at turn 1, and that was the pivotal moment of race 1. That was the moment at which Camini lost the race. Bitterly disappointed last night, and pleased that he scored points for 2nd place, but would have been so much better for the Swiss driver to have won the 1st round. He'll be praying that that electrical glitch is not going to repeat itself. And at the moment, I'm hoping I'm not jinxing him, he's all over the back of Oriola's car. It's still, though, Jordi Genet who leads for the Craft Bamboo Lukoil team. The gap now over Mikhail Grachov has extended to 2.4 seconds. Then it's 4.5 seconds back to Pepe Oriola. Camini less than a second behind, then Valia, then Morbidelli, then Gleeson, Engström, Hesemans, and then Avanasiev, you saw there, rounding off the top 10 and the point-scoring positions. Rangoni and the Subaru still 14th. And Ma right at the back of the field in the Ford. After those drive shaft issues yesterday, that'll be a huge disappointment for the team, who saw such promise in the opening rounds of the TCR Asia Series a fortnight ago at Sepang. Valia then still with a slight cushion over Morbidelli. The gap, though, less than a second, with Gleeson in turn half a second behind Morbidelli in 7th place. Engström and Hesemans too, separated by just under half a second in the scrap for 8th. So there is Valia, Morbidelli, Gleeson, we're on lap 5 of 10. Jordi Genet still leads round 18 of the TCR International Series. The gap now 3.5 seconds, in fact just over, to Mikhail Grachov in 2nd place. Hezemans now has Engstrom in his sights, but at the same time he's got Afanasiev behind him in the red Lukoil Craft Bamboo car. There's Engstrom on the right, Hezemans on the left, then Afanasiev. Then behind you see the 3rd of the West Coast Racing Hondas. 2 of them finished on the podium here last night. Munich losing out, and it looks like he's about to lose out on the points here again. And the bad news from the Subaru fans is that Luca Rangoni brings the Subaru STI TCR car into the pits. And that's a huge disappointment to the Top Run team, who did so much to get the car out on track last night after its late arrival here in Singapore. But to their credit, they started both races and they've learned an awful lot about the car and about the conditions and, of course, about the series. Engstrom then. And is it me, or is that gap getting closer? Hezemans now all over the back of the Golf and opening up a slight advantage over Afanasiev. There's Engstrom, there's Hezemans, there's Afanasiev. And just as I was saying it, no, there goes up the inside, there goes Afanasiev, forcing Hezemans out. So Afanasiev takes the place. Afanasiev moves from 10th to 9th. Hezemans losing out. But another impressive performance from a TCR debutant this weekend. And I hope we see more of the young Dutch driver in the future. That's René Munich behind Hezemans now. He'll be looking to get into the points, as I was saying a few moments ago. Through the tunnel they go. The leaders will be heading down towards the start-finish straight to start the 6th lap. And indeed they do. There is Genet. The lap counter has just ticked over. There's that yawning gap back to Grachov. 2nd place. Oriola 3rd. Comini 4th. Those two still together. Then Valia, then Morbidelli, then Gleeson. Then the 2nd Golf. There's Engstrom. Afanasiev now behind. Munich alongside Hezemans, but Hezemans has the line for the left-hander. This is the scrap for the last points place for 10th. Munich, having scored that amazing 1-2-3 for West Coast Racing in Shanghai at the beginning of the season. He's been away to do FIA World Rallycross. He's back, and that's Hezemans who's made a mistake. He clouts the barrier with the rear of the car. There's the damage. The car gets going again, but the pressure from René Munich paid to his chances, I suspect, of finishing in the points. You can see the flapping bodywork on the Seat. And the target competition team will be bitterly disappointed with that. So Munich goes through into 10th. Hezemans trailing smoke from the tyre rubbing on the bodywork, having dropped to 11th. But this is the scrap that I suspect the 2 scraps we should be looking at. The first one between Oriola and Comini, the next between Valia and Morbidelli. The Honda now all over the back of the Seat. Morbidelli, you might remember, flashing his lights in frustration last night. And Morbidelli drove superbly back in Monza. The Honda at its best in fast curves, so the slow 90-degree corners here, just as they were in Sochi, not to the Honda's liking. Gleeson too moves up, so Valia's now got 2 Hondas to worry about. Slight puff of smoke from the Seat. Morbidelli right with him. This, remember, is the battle for 5th. Morbidelli and Gleeson still in this 5-way scrap for the driver's title, so they'll be desperate to get every extra point. But very clean so far, no contact. There go the lights from both Morbidelli and Gleeson. Valia just puts a little extra distance between himself and the two Hondas. There goes the Golf, there's Oriola with Camini right behind him. Morbidelli and Gleeson. Gleeson has the window open to try and get some fresh air into the car. The gap between first and second, between Genet and Grachov, having extended to nearly 5 seconds. But look at this. This is the battle for the third of the podium places. There's Grachov in second, who's slowly but surely, it would appear, falling into the clutches of Oriola. Camini, though, also keen for another podium finish to go with the second he scored here last night. So Genet from Grachov, from Oriola, from Camini, still Valia from Morbidelli and Gleeson, Engstrom 8th, Afanasiev 9th, Munich 10th. Loris Hezemans has dropped to 11th. And 12th, we've hardly mentioned him, Rafael Galeana in the other target competition car. Destined, I suspect, to finish outside the points again. But look at this scrap between the men who are currently second and first, respectively, in the Drivers' Series. Pepe Oriola came into this race just 8 points adrift of Stefano Camini. Camini, though, goes up the inside, takes a look, and brilliantly judged. Camini squeezes past. That's a fantastic piece of driving by Stefano Camini. Very difficult to overtake, but has Oriola got the jump on the target competition car? Oriola comes back at him. Camini, though, has the line. And indeed, Camini hangs on. Third place changes hands. Brilliant. I suspect that's not the end of the matter, though, as far as Pepe Oriola is concerned. He'll come back at him. We're on lap 7. 3 and a little bit laps remain. Through the tunnel they go. And just ahead is the Volkswagen Golf of Mikhail Grachov. That'll be next on Camini's. Whoa, was there a little touch of the wall there? He certainly seemed to run wide. Extremely unforgiving, these walls. There, way off in the distance, is Jordi Genet, our race leader. He's just started his 8th lap. There's Camini. Let's go back to this scrap, though. Lorenzo Valia still has Gianni Morbidelli and Kevin Gleeson to worry about as they hop over the curbs at the chicane. Morbidelli takes a little look, but no. And the difference in experience between the two drivers couldn't be more pronounced. Valia in the Seat. Young Italian driver, you'll recall, missed one of the races because he was sitting his final exams. 18 years of age, Lorenzo Valia. And at the other end of the scale, 47-year-old Gianni Morbidelli, who's competed in everything from karting to Formula One. Gianni Morbidelli just edges him out. The experience showing. Gleeson weaves the other way. And so Valia was defending from Morbidelli. He's now defending from the other Honda. Morbidelli choosing his moment brilliantly to go past. And indeed, Camini is alongside Grachov, now pushing for second place. Camini squeezes past, and so from 4th to 2nd in what, a lap and a half? Stefano Camini, you have to say, 2 second places from Singapore would be an incredible reward for the Swiss driver who just a matter of weeks ago thought he wouldn't have the budget to finish the season. And as Pepe Oriola also now powers past Grachov, it would appear. Indeed he has got Oriola up into 3rd. Jordi Genet now nearly 5 seconds ahead of this scrap. Let's take a look at this again. Valia, Morbidelli alongside, picks the moment, just goes across the curb. Valia has nowhere to go, has to run wide. Thank you very much, says Gianni Morbidelli. I'll take that. Yellow flags are out. Okay. That's Grachov, who's gone straight on at the left-hander at turn 18. There he is in the number 8 Volkswagen. And Valia now defending from Kevin Gleeson. You can see already that Morbidelli is off and away. Jordi Genet on his 9th lap. Morbidelli hammered down. Valia defending from Gleeson, who weaves to the left-hand side, takes a look, but no, not close enough. So it's now Genet from Comini, the gap between the pair nearly 6 seconds. Oriola now 3rd, Morbidelli 4th. This is the battle for 5th with Gleeson up alongside Valia. Has he done it? Valia hangs on for the right-hander, but no, indeed, Gleeson. Oh, nearly contact between the pair. Gleeson alongside the Seat. The pair in a drag race down to the left-hander. There goes Morbidelli out of shot, and Gleeson, I think, has done it. Indeed, too close to call, I suspect. The left-hander, no, Valia's done it. Fantastic touring car racing. This is what it's all about. And yet no contact, clean again. Valia then hangs on to that 5th place from Kevin Gleeson. Gleeson, though, refusing to yield. He comes back at the Seat driver once again. This is a battle worth sticking with. Gleeson just gets his nose ahead. Indeed, he does it. This time he surely must make it stick. He takes the left-hander and indeed takes 5th place away from Lorenzo Valia. Whoa! And Valia sliding through the corner in his efforts to get back at Gleeson, but Gleeson has made it stick. Gleeson moves up into 5th place. So, an all-Seat top 3, Genet, Comini and Oriola. Craft Bamboo Lukoil, target competition, Craft Bamboo Lukoil. Then it's the 2 West Coast Racing Hondas of Morbidelli and Gleeson, with Valia now having dropped back to 6th place. Contact there between Afanasieff, I think it was, and Thomas Engström. And it's Hezemans, who's still sporting that body damage, who benefits from it. Does that mean that Hezemans has made it back into the top 10? The back of the car hanging off Hezemans' car. René Munich just ahead. There then is Thomas Engström, the man who started from pole position, wasn't able to translate that pole into a decent start and hang on. And indeed, that's René Munich, I think, who is dropping back. Was it the 23 car or the 24 car that we saw dropping back? I think it was René Munich. As we see Kevin Gleeson, no, indeed, the 24 car still ahead of Valia, then Grachov, then Hezemans, with the almost 2 wings flapping at the back of the car as we look at that head-on shot. But we're on the last lap. Jordi Genet has an advantage of 3.8 seconds. The gap has closed to Stefano Comini, but is it too great with just 1 lap remaining? Comini nearly 2 seconds ahead of Oriola. Then Morbidelli, then Gleeson, then Valia, Grachov. Hezemans indeed has made it back up into the top 10. He's 8th, ahead of Engström, with René Munich back in that final point scoring position of 10th. But Jordi Genet has driven another terrific race. The experience, both as a racer, but also of the Seat Leon, once again pays off for Jordi Genet. And so the top 3, top 4, top 5, excuse me, made up of the 5 men who are scrapping for the driver's title. Genet will surely take the checkered flag to score yet another victory for the Seat Leon. The team will be absolutely delighted. There is that yawning gap back to Stefano Comini, who in turn has a comfortable cushion now, it would appear, over Pepe Oriola in 3rd. Morbidelli is 4th, something like 5.5 seconds down. Then Gleeson in turn around 4 seconds down on his teammate. But Jordi Genet comes through. A handful of corners are all that remain. He takes the left-hander into the tunnel. The right-hander at turn 19. And so the 3 Seats finish on the podium, it would appear, ahead of the 2 Hondas. Around the final left-hander, the final 2 corners, in fact, this double left-hander at turns 22 and now 23. On to the start-finish straight. There's the checkered flag on the left-hand side. Congratulations to Jordi Genet and to the Craft Bamboo Lukoil team. Another victory for them. Stefano Camini finishes second ahead of Pepe Oriola, and the crowd applauding. They know decent motorsport when they see it, and they've seen a good opening appetizer to the afternoon of motorsport here in Singapore from the TCR International Series. And I think, judging by the comments on social media over the last 24 hours or so, the series has made an awful lot of new fans here in Singapore this weekend. Camini, I'm sure, has just congratulated Jordi Genet on the victory. So Camini hangs on to his championship lead. The windows open to get air into the cars. The drivers acknowledging the marshals to thank them for their work this weekend. There is Pepe Oriola. Door open to try and get some even more air into the car. Goodness knows what conditions are like inside those touring cars. Morbidelli and Gleeson finishing then ahead of Valia. Grachov, Hezemans, Engstrom and Munich. And Rafael Galeana, the first man to miss out on the points, 11th. And Michael Choi, it will be, who takes his second successive victory in the TCR Asia Series. He won here last night, and he takes the Prince Racing team's second victory of the weekend in the Honda Civic. Frank Yu we were expecting to see do well, but a collision right at the beginning of last night's race means that Frank Yu didn't finish high up in the points. I think he managed to recover in the end to, I think it was second or third if my memory serves me correct. But it was Michael Choi who won last night, and Michael Choi again wins this afternoon. But in the TCR International Series, it is Jordi Genet from Spain who takes the victory here at the Marina Bay Circuit. You see the spectators there streaming across the bridge. So Jordi Genet from Spain, ahead of Stefano Camini from Switzerland, ahead of Pepe Oriola from Spain. There's that braking zone into the tunnel that's caught out a few people this weekend. But Jordi Genet has driven faultlessly this afternoon. We'll get confirmation. Indeed, the winning margin 3.6 seconds from Stefano Camini. Pepe Oriola, carrying the maximum success ballast of 30 kilos, finishes third. Gianni Morbidelli fourth. Kevin Gleeson fifth. Lorenzo Valia sixth. Mikhail Grachov seventh. Loris Hezemans eighth. Thomas Engstrom ninth. René Munich 10th. And then looking down at our non-finishers, Mack did not start, remember. Kenneth Ma in the Ford Focus, not classified, as is Luca Rangoni in the Subaru. Bitter disappointment for the Top Run team and that beautiful blue and gold Subaru. And this time, Stefano Camini looks a lot happier. Body language yesterday was reflected his disappointment, but you have to say, Jordi Genet, beaming smile inside that helmet. Such a happy man. Congratulations from the Craft Bamboo Lukoil guys. I'm sure Andrew and Richard from the team saying well done. But just as I was saying, Stefano looked a beaten man last night. Really couldn't believe his bad luck with the electrical fault that had cost him the win, but he looks an awful lot happier this afternoon. 2 podium finishes, 2 second places. And there in the background you saw Pepe Oriola being hugged by his dad. Look at that. just what Jordi Janné needed. He started the race 37 points adrift of Stefano Camini. He did touch the wall. I did think so at the time. We weren't quite sure, but it must have been the briefest of touches. But pointing out to our camera that there's a scuff mark, a couple of scuff marks on the door. Congratulations between the two Spaniards. And I was going to say, Jordi's brother Mark can't be far away. I'm sure he's here in Singapore on F1 duties. Over there, please, Jordi, for the photos. There on the right, Fernando Monge, who at one point looked like he was going to finish in the top 10, but in the end finishing way down the order. A disappointment then, again, for Campos Racing. This is the moment that Jordi Janné took the win. Janné, a winner back in Sepang right at the beginning of the year, a victim of that huge shunt in Valencia, and then at Sochi in Russia, pole position and the winner of race 1, and he's now won race 2 here in Singapore, which definitely gets his championship ambitions back on track. Pepe Oriola and Stefano Camini, meanwhile, have done their chances no harm at all, but Morbidelli will be cursing his bad luck and his flu, or whatever the head cold is. 3rd yesterday, 4th today. And there is a very happy Stefano Camini. 2 second places, he says, as the drivers go in, chill out for a couple of minutes before being called out on the podium. You have to say, Jordi Janné looks extremely cool and relaxed. There is the position in the Drivers' Series. So 11 points the difference between Camini and Oriola. Jordi Janné now on 234, Morbidelli 217, Gleeson on 201. So 63 points separating Camini from Gleeson. You look fine, Andrew, trust me. But 110 points still up for grabs with the 4 remaining races, 2 in Thailand, 2 in Macau. So still a 5-way scrap for the driver's title. And I suspect it's going to go down to the wire in Macau. If you thought things were tight and twisty here in Singapore, the classic street circuit of Macau is going to provide an absolutely stunning finale to the series. We can already feel it.
Well done to Jordi Janné. The trophies are presented by Siu Hong, Cali Group representative, and she presents the trophy first of all to Jordi Janné, the winner. Congratulations to him. And to Stefano Camini for his second place of the weekend. The trophy once again presented by Siu Hong. And also to the 3rd place driver, Pepe Oriola. Congratulations to Pepe. And finally, the trophy to the winning team, Team Craft Bamboo Lukoil, with 1st and 3rd. And the trophy is presented to their representative on the podium. Congratulations, gentlemen. If you'd like to get together for the photograph first. No? Yes? No. Yes. Well done.
Some very happy faces on the podium. Andrew Chisholm it is, who's the team manager of Craft Bamboo Lukoil.